first Sunday of the fantasy football playoffs, and some fantasy studs ran wild while others would stay in the stable. Hi, and welcome to CBSSports.com Fantasy Football Series. I am Amber Wilson. It's the Monday Fantasy Huddle for Week 14, the first week of most leagues' playoffs. And even though each league is different, some things are the same from league to league. Most likely, if you drafted the likes of Tom Brady or Tony Romo, the top fantasy performers who were for the most part drafted outside of the first round, you found yourself playing in the playoffs. And with their Sunday performances, you're probably moving on in the playoffs. As both quarterbacks from arguably the two best teams in the NFL had huge games, both going for over 300 yards on Sunday, and Tom Brady had a special gift for Anthony Smith in the Steelers secondary, 4 TDs, including 2 to Randy Moss. And LaDainian Tomlinson continued his recent torrid stretch. He had over 170 total yards, caught a touchdown pass, and then won the game in OT with a 16-yard touchdown run. The news, however, not as good for the steal of the 2007 drafts and Adrian Peterson. This is not a misprint, guys. These are Adrian Peterson's numbers for all day Sunday. 14 carries, 3 yards, no fantasy impact whatsoever. The Vikings beat up on the Niners 27-7, but fantasy owners don't really care about that. They were probably on the wrong end of their score. And we welcome into the show senior fantasy football writer Jamey Eisenberg. So Jamey, Week 14, AD, a must start in all leagues, and then turns out to be pretty much a complete bust.
Yeah, all day disappeared. It was quite disappointing for a lot of fantasy owners to watch Chester Taylor run for over 100 yards and score a touchdown, while Adrian Peterson, the guy everybody has counted on for most of the season, gets 3 yards rushing. That's just terrible. So, I think it was a situation the 49ers really keyed on stopping Peterson. Taylor took advantage of the opportunities that he had there. Peterson did say he tweaked his other knee, not the injured one, but the other knee, but he is okay. So if you still survived in your fantasy playoffs and are able to get to the championship game or are entering the playoffs now, don't worry, he'll be okay.
Yeah, playoff time. Not a great time for AD to bust, unless, of course, you have Taylor. I suppose that would have been the good scenario.
But you're not starting Taylor over AD.
This is true.
That's very true.
All right, moving on. Peyton finally finding his groove without Marvin.
Yeah, the last 3 weeks have been great for Peyton Manning. He had a great night last night against the Ravens, and certainly is playing like the quarterback everybody expects. He's using other players, guys like Anthony Gonzalez, throwing the ball to Joseph Adai. We've seen Dallas Clark emerge as one of the best tight ends in fantasy football. Reggie Wayne, we know, is great. But Amber, the interesting thing to me is, who is the better quarterback behind Tom Brady? Is it Peyton Manning or is it Tony Romo at this point?
Well, that's a tough one, because even Romo, he's not using his favorite target this past week in T.O. He's going to Jason Witten, so it's kind of like the Manning thing.
Yeah, it's almost like, these two quarterbacks are just that good. They're making things work without their favorite targets. T.O. had a disappointing day, but Jason Witten stepped up with career high in catches, certainly getting a lot of yards and proving to be one of the best tight ends, along with Dallas Clark. As a great option for Romo, as well as Patrick Creighton as a second wide receiver. So I think you see with both these quarterbacks, they are going into next year as probably 2 and 3. I still think Peyton is the number 2 quarterback going into the draft next year, but Romo has certainly proven to be the number 3 guy.
Yeah, he's carrying me along quite well right now. And, we're talking about Peyton and Romo finally using some other guys, not their big guys, but a team finally using all of their weapons. The Bills. The Bills,
yeah. Who would have thought we'd be talking about the Buffalo Bills? With Trent Edwards at quarterback, he throws for 4 touchdowns. 2 of them go to his tight end, and Robert Royal. Lee Evans, it's December. It must be getting cold in Buffalo because Lee Evans likes to play well in December. I wish he would play better during the rest of the season because he's a very talented wide receiver. But Lee Evans finally shows up. He scores 2 touchdowns. And the running game, Amber, that was the key thing, I think, for a lot of fantasy people was Marshawn Lynch returns. He had a decent game, but Fred Jackson was still able to produce. So I think going forward, you're still going to want to use Marshawn Lynch, especially next year because he's going to be a great running back. But Fred Jackson, if you were able to start him, you got some production.
All right, more football to play tonight. No Reggie Bush.
No Reggie Bush.
That's
That's little development that happened at the end of last week, and so Aaron Stecker now steps into the running back role for them. Pierre Thomas going to get some carries as well. Look for a lot of Drew Brees. Not a lot from the Falcons. Jarius Norwood starts, but I don't use him.
All right, Jamey.
Don't forget to mention your female league.
Well, I did mention how Romo's carrying me well, and Adai is helping me in that league as well.
You made the playoffs. You excited?
I did make the playoffs. I am very excited about it. I think I'm going to win it. I'm taking it all home. I said that when we started the league, and I'm sticking to it. If you want to find out more about our all-female fantasy football league, you can check out CBSSports.com, of course, and we thank you for all of your analysis and advice every week.
And a happy belated birthday, too.
Oh, well, thank you, Jamey. Thank you very much. That'll do it for us for now. Keep your mouths right here. CBSSports.com for everything else you need to know in the world of sports. And if you missed anything here today, stop, refresh, and rewatch. For Jamey Eisenberg, I'm Amber Wilson. Have a great day, guys.